You're going to tell Allah on Judgment Day, you caused that man to assume the appearance of someone?
That's what they're going to do.
And he who never claimed to be the Messiah, he was crucified. That is an act of injustice. You attributing injustice to Allah? What foolishness. Where are the scholars who will correct this foolishness?
He's saying, where are the scholars who will correct this foolishness? He understands that it's foolish. And guess what? There probably are more scholars who realize how foolish this is. But you can't say anything because you'll be targeted, you'll be targeted like you're a heretic for denying what the mainstream view of the Quran is. It reminds me of Sheikh Yasser Qadi with the whole holes in the narrative interview. Every scholar who knows the history of the Quran, every last one of them knows that this idea that, the Quran's been perfectly preserved right down to the letter is complete nonsense. Every last one of them knows that. And yet they can't say it. They can't say a word because they'll get eaten alive by the Ummah. And, you're denying the perfect preservation of the Quran. This is heresy. And so they all have to keep their mouths shut. I mean, from his perspective, you've got the entire Ummah running around accusing Allah of being this divine deceiver, this divine trickster. I mean, you don't know what to believe. If Allah can trick people for no reason into thinking that Jesus is crucified, and even his followers can be tricked by this, I mean, how do you know anything that's going on right now? Maybe Allah's tricking you about all of us, and we're not here. Maybe I'm in Antarctica right now, and Allah's just tricking you into you don't know what to believe if you believe in this cosmic trickster. He recognizes, guys, this is nonsense. And it's shame on him, shame on you for saying this.
Allah took his soul.
Allah took his soul.
They thought he was dead.
See, now he's breaking it down very, very simple on what happened. They thought he was dead in the full sense of his soul not being returned.
They thought he was dead. They took down the body.
Took down the body. So Jesus was on the cross.
They put the body in the cave.
Put the body in the cave. So he's buried.
They sealed the cave.
Sealed the cave.
Allah returned the soul.
Allah returned the soul. Resurrection.
As simple as that.
Simple as that.
Nobody knew that the soul was returned.
Nobody, well, some people knew, his followers did.
And Allah raised him.
And Allah raised him.
But let me warn you one more time.
In case you guys didn't understand me the first time when I warned you.
If you stick with this theory of substitution, you are going to be in a pathetic state on Judgment Day.
Death means Allah took away your soul but didn't return it. If Allah takes your soul when you're on the cross and then they bury you and so on, and then he returns your soul, you didn't actually die. And so he says that's what the Quran is actually saying here. You don't need all of this stuff about God tricking and deceiving people for no reason into thinking that Jesus died. But you have verses like 355, and when Allah said, O Isa, I'm going to terminate the period of your stay on earth and cause you to ascend unto me and purify you of those who disbelieve and make those who follow you above those who disbelieve to the day of resurrection. I normally quote this to show that Allah is promising to protect the followers of Jesus until the day of resurrection, which doesn't make sense if you think the Apostle Paul came in there right afterwards and corrupted everything. Doesn't make sense if you ever, because notice, Allah's going to protect them until the day of resurrection. That's a long time, right? But you can look at the beginning of this verse, I'm going to terminate the period of your stay on earth. You can find translation, which translate this as you're going to die. That's the normal usage. Translators have to take 4:157 into account in their translations and act like this isn't standard language for someone dying in Islam. 3:145. And a soul will not die, but with the permission of Allah. If according to the Quran, nothing dies, soul doesn't die, but with Allah's permission, then when you say, I thwarted Allah by killing Jesus. No, you didn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is part of Allah's plan. Look at 3:169. Reckon not those who are killed in Allah's way as dead. They are alive. Very important verse, ladies and gentlemen, for understanding. If you wanted to interpret 4:157 in some light other than the standard Islamic narrative, if you're killed for Allah, which Jesus was, don't say they're dead, they're alive. So did you actually, if you think you killed someone like Muhammad or Jesus or anyone, according to Islam, did you actually kill them? No, you didn't. They're alive. 5:117, this is Jesus talking. He says, I did not say to them anything except what you did enjoin me. Serve Allah, my Lord and your Lord, and I was a witness of them so long as I was among them. But when thou didst cause me to die, thou wert the watcher over them, and thou art witness of all things. This is Jesus speaking to Allah. And notice there Jesus talks about dying. So a Muslim would have to interpret this in light of Surah 4, verse 157, and say, this is after Jesus returns. So Jesus was taken to Allah, then he's going to return later, judge the world, die, and they would have to say, that's what this death is talking about. It's talking about even after that. But if you just read this verse without thinking that 4:157 denies Jesus' death and crucifixion, you would just think that this is talking about Jesus' death on the cross. And then, of course, another very important one, 8:17, you did not slay them, but it was Allah who slew them. You were a mere instrument that Allah was using to achieve what he wanted. Get your minds around this, because just 8:17 by itself, let alone some of these other ones, just 8:17 by itself should start making you wonder what the Quran is saying. Notice, is Allah saying the people weren't killed, that it didn't happen, that these people didn't die? No, he's saying he did it through you, and that you are a mere instrument of his will. So anyway, the point is, you have passages like this, you have verses like this, where Allah says, you didn't kill them, I did. So if the Jews are saying, according to 4:157, if the Jews are saying, we killed him, we crucified him, well, think of that in light of chapter 8, verse 17. You didn't do it, Allah's doing that. And the idea that no one can die except by Allah's permission. If you read it in that context, in light of other things the Quran says, you look at this and go, okay, the Jews said, we got him. But according to Islam, Allah can use people as instruments to further his purposes. And so is Allah saying, no, you think you overpowered me, but you're simply carrying out my plans, and Jesus is alive and I took him to paradise. You know what I find strangest in all of this? Have you noticed how many verses of the Quran Muslims are quite happy to reinterpret?
Of course, absolutely.
And then we get to this verse, and this is somehow the only verse in the Quran that you cannot reinterpret. It has to mean Allah's a trickster who starts false religions for no reason. That's what it has to mean, and we can't accept any other interpretation.
They have to die on that hill here.
Yeah, weird one. Weird hill to die on.
Yeah, a very weird hill to die on.
I die on the hill of Allah's deception, dang it!
No, Jesus was not crucified. He was definitely not killed. None of that happened. It's absolutely not true. I will not change my mind on this. Allah tricked everybody. I will not change my mind on this. Allah is a prankster. Allah is the best of pranksters. He does the best pranks. He creates the biggest false religion with the greatest prank. He's showing us how a prank is really done. And I stand by that. I am proud of that. I'm proud of Allah. It's weird. It's weird. When you could really just like this scholar sit down and look at it differently and look at it and say, hey, no, our God is not a trickster. That's not what happens. That's not what the verse actually says.
You should probably go with the interpretation that doesn't portray your God as this cosmic trickster who deceives people for no reason. 4:157 has been misinterpreted by Muslims because the Quran is affirming earlier scriptures which clearly claim that Jesus died by crucifixion. It's also a fact of history, and the only way around it is to portray God as a deceiver. I'm not going to do that. And therefore, I'm going to conclude that 4:157 is not denying the crucifixion. Even as a Muslim, I would have a massive problem with the standard Islamic narrative. I would say I can't accept that. I can't accept that position. Stop accusing God of being a cosmic deceiver. Get a better theology. Get some help.